This is the biggest change to the classic Counter-Strike formula since they introduced defusal maps. Greetings, TheWarOwl greets you. Finally, an update to Counter-Strike 2. You best be ready for change, because I think this is only the beginning. Players now create a loadout of weapons to bring into the match. 5 pistols, 5 mid-tier weapons, and 5 rifles. This means that for the first time ever, you can equip the M4A4 and the M4A1S in the same match. You can also equip a deagle and a revolver at the same time, but don't. What defines a mid-tier weapon? Well, it's anything that's not a rifle or a pistol. I guess it's the other category. The equipment slots and nade slots are grayed out for now. Are we getting some new toys? The big benefit to this is that Valve was able to redesign the buy menu. The radial buy menu was created so that controller players could play Counter-Strike as well. I never liked it, and I'm glad it's dead. Counter-Strike is and always will be a PC shooter played with mouse and keyboard. The new buy menu reflects this. And yes, it looks like Valorant. Finally, with some proper competition, we can see some innovation in the tactical shooter space, and by innovation, I mean stealing what the other guy did. You can now sell back items. No more misbuys. If you drop an item on the ground and then you pick it back up, you can still sell it back as long as you bought it that round and the buy time is still going. Be careful, because as soon as you shoot with the weapon, you can no longer sell it back. It's like trying to return used underwear to Walmart.
Actually, I think they let you do that.
They must have added this to prevent an exploit where you buy an op, you kill somebody mid-dust 2, and then you sell the weapon back. Like back in the day when we used to kill somebody quickly on a pistol round and then buy a MAC-10. Good times. The new buy menu is very well designed. It's one screen with a few clicks to get what you want, and it's obvious how to buy with the number keys. First number for the column, second number for the row. They also added some flavor text to explain what the weapons are and when you should use them, but let's be honest, that's what TheWarOwl videos are for. Okay, the elephant in the room. Previously, you had access to nearly every single weapon. Now you only have access to 15 weapons a match. I think you'll find that that's less weapons. For competitive players, I actually think the loadout system increases the weapon variety. I can now purchase whichever M4 I want, and I can buy the 5.7 as a secondary to the AWP and the CZ for eco rounds. Valve makes a lot of their decisions based on statistical analysis. I think that they looked at the data of how many different weapons were purchased a match, and they found this sweet spot. Functionally, I do not think that there are going to be very many situations where you want to purchase a weapon, but you didn't equip it. What it does do is kill some of the fun. If I want to buy a Negev or a Bison to troll, that weapon option is now gone, unless I want to use one of my slots for a meme weapon. Also, newer players aren't able to experiment as much. I think that this change negatively affects the casual players more. And this is not a, you noob, I pro, lol get good. I'm not like that, and I'm not like that specifically because morons say that to me all the time, so I get it. One compromise could be to add an option off to the side that accesses the entire buy menu, but I think that would go against what Valve is trying to do with this change, and I don't think it would actually be used. Why did they do this? The only reasonable conclusion I can draw is that they're going to add a bunch of new weapons and new equipment that will make the loadout more of a decision. Like the TAC-21 as a new sniper rifle, it wouldn't make sense to have Scout, AWP, TAC-21, and auto-equipped. Players need to make a choice. This is getting me a little worried because we may be veering towards role-specific loadouts. What if some of the new equipment and weapons are better for a support player or a lurk player? If we are going the direction where loadout will affect playstyle, which as it is right now, it really doesn't, but that could be a big problem for solo queue where you're not guaranteed to have a good split of roles. Because I have a lot of experience, when I solo queue, I always take the role or the position that's lacking and I kind of fill, and it's because I have access to everything in the game, I can do that. If it's like, oh, I don't have the tac whatever, that I can't play that spot, oh my gosh, nobody can, we're screwed. One of the great aspects of Counter-Strike that sets it apart from other shooters is that on the battlefield, everyone is the same, and everyone has an equal chance at success. The only thing separating them is how well they play the game, their decision-making and their mechanics and their teamwork. I do not want to lose that. Counter-Strike is the chess of video games. You have a beautiful simplicity on the surface and a deep complexity the more you look into it. It's a formula that has worked for a really long time. Imagine if in chess you got to customize your pieces before you played. It's called Warhammer, and it's pretty darn awesome. awesome, but it's not chess. One thing that is absolutely necessary if they go ahead with this loadout system is map-specific loadouts. By the way, this will also open the door to map-specific agent skins based on color to get a competitive advantage based on visibility, which is really dumb, and I hate it, but there's no putting the genie back in the bottle. This is probably going to be the most controversial issue that Counter-Strike has had in a long time, so please let me know what you think in the comments without being a dick to your fellow Counter-Strike players who disagree. Overall, my opinion is I really like the design of the new menu, but I'm worried about the limited weapons you can bring in. I'm not 100% sold on the loadout system because it changes what makes Counter-Strike Counter-Strike. After 3 months of nothing but Dust 2, we finally get a fresh new map to explore. Oh, it's Mirage. By the way, my CT smoke lineup here uses the sun. Sun's gone. Shotguns also now have new utility in clearing out smoke. So you shoot the shotgun, it makes a pretty big hole in the smoke. This is a smart idea. I don't know if it's gonna be used very much, but I like giving that extra thing for the shotguns. And yes, I saw that too. Volvo, please fix. The HE grenade blowing out smokes has been nerfed slightly. I don't think this was necessarily needed, but there's still enough time to hit shots through the smoke after clearing it. I think the idea is you don't want people to be able to clear the smoke and then run through it and take position. You want it to be mainly used as a way to give you an extra line of sight that you can maybe hit a sneaky shot off on somebody. In this update, so many of the community suggestions have been addressed. Binding multiple commands to a single key is back, except for jump binds, which are now a skill check. I think this is the right implementation. This is exactly what I suggested they do. Interestingly, they hint in the patch notes that the reason why they removed that functionality in the first place was because of a bug, so they took it away temporarily to fix a bug. I think we should be patient during this testing phase because a bunch of the decisions that we see that seem a little bit off may actually have a good reason behind it. As predicted by some of the leaks, VAC will now ban players mid-match, end the match, and save us all some grief. Thank goodness. Being forced to play a full match against cheaters is one of the worst feelings in the game and has probably led to many players leaving to go play Valorant, where there's almost no cheaters. Adding this functionality is interesting since VAC tends to do bans in bulk, so it probably wouldn't come up very often, would it? Maybe this is an indication that the anti-cheat is going to more aggressively ban players. We also got our hands on Hammer 2, the new map editor, and oh my goodness, I'm blown away by how good this is. A lot of people aren't going to understand nor care a lot about this, so I'll just summarize it by saying mappers will have a lot more power and will be able to preview lighting effects before compiling, and compile times are dramatically reduced from the Half-Life Alyx build. If you're a mapper, you should be celebrating right now. This is good stuff. It will require some beefy system requirements to use all the new features, but if you're getting into level design, you're probably gonna want to have a beefy rig anyway. I'm super busy right now. There's a lot going on in TheWarOwl land, but once I get some free time, I'm gonna start messing around with this and start working on remaking my map, DE Amigo, from the ground up. Hopefully by that time, FM Pone, Top Hat Waffle, or good old 3clicks will have made some tutorials so I know what the heck is going on. I have been informed by the modding community that V-scripts have been disabled in this build, which I hope is just temporary because it would mean the end of modding in Counter-Strike 2 as we know it. V-scripts is how we make all the custom game modes for my 10-man videos. Any sort of a warm-up map that you've played where it spawns bots and does a bunch of cool stuff, that's using V-scripts. Valve, if you're watching this is my appeal. Let them cook. Thanks for watching. I am TheWarOwl and I still have no closer.